All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the various heart conditions that you're coming across here in the problematic hearts section. So in step number 45, there is this biodigital human models, and I encourage you to, if you have not yet, look through these, explore around them, hit the little info panel here so you can read about them, but I'm going to also go over them a little bit here with you to begin. The first one here is angina, and angina is not really a condition so much as it is a symptom. So angina is the pain that a person experiences because of a lack of blood flow to the heart. So here we have a coronary artery. These coronary arteries in red, there's a whole bunch of them all around the heart, right? We labeled one of them. We actually labeled this one right here when we were looking at our sheep hearts. This coronary artery has a blockage. So there is some plaque here as a result of atherosclerosis that is decreasing blood flow to part of the heart, and that decreased blood flow can cause pain, and that is what angina is. So speaking of atherosclerosis, here's an image of atherosclerosis as well as a thrombus together. So atherosclerosis occurs when you have buildup of plaque within an artery wall. So that's what this is right here. This is that plaque that's being built up. And then a thrombus is just a blood clot. So here we have atherosclerosis has caused hardening and narrowing of the blood vessel, right, of that artery, like a coronary artery. And then if a blood clot gets stuck in there, you can see that it can cut off circulation through here. So that is kind of a double whammy here. You have atherosclerosis, which causes this narrowing and hardening and stiffening of those arteries. And then if you get a blood clot stuck in there, you can more easily get one stuck in there because there is that blockage. All right. So all this together can eventually cause what's called a myocardial infarction, which is just a fancy science term for a heart attack. So here is another one of those coronary arteries, right? If you have a ruptured plaque in the artery, like you see here. Actually, if we click here, we can kind of see it a little bit better, right? You have this plaque, and then we have this rupture, and we have blood getting stuck in here, and we actually have like a clot forming up. So you get a complete blockage of the blood vessel, then that causes the death of this heart tissue, right? So these coronary arteries, as a reminder, their job is to supply oxygen and other nutrients to the heart muscle itself. And if one of those arteries gets blocked up, then you get death of that muscle. Very similar process can lead to a stroke. So if you have a blockage just like this, right, you have atherosclerosis, thrombus, some sort of ruptured plaque in the brain, right, then that leads to a stroke if you're in one of those arteries that's supplying blood to the brain. Very similar process between both a heart attack and a stroke. They're both cardiovascular events due to these kind of diseases. The next one on here is this aortic valve stenosis. Stenosis simply refers to the narrowing of a valve. So in this example, it is an aortic valve that is being narrowed. As you can see, there's like this buildup, and it can be a result of a variety of issues. So what's happening here is calcification. So like calcium deposits are building up on here. And often this will not really have symptoms until it gets pretty bad. But eventually can lead to like chest pain and dizziness and that sort of thing. And it can become a problem, right? This is a disease of the heart valves, and those valves, if they stop working properly, right here, the stenosis means that not enough blood can move through the aorta like it should, right? And so you're going to have decreased cardiac output to the rest of the body. You can also have problems with the valve where they don't close all the way, and so you can get leakage and backflow, and that can cause a lot of problems. You're also going to have decreased cardiac output. Either way, having problems with those valves, whether they're not opening enough or not closing all the way, can lead to some major issues. Next one here, if the arrow button works, come on here, there, go to the next one, there it is, patent foramen ovale. So for this one, what you can see here, there's this hole right here in the atrium. Specifically, this one, specifically for this one, this hole is between the two atria, right? So an ovale is just a hole between the chambers. Specifically this one, it is between the atria, and so of course if you have that sort of thing happening, you're going to have deoxygenated and oxygenated blood mixing, and that is never good because now the blood that should be oxygenated is not as oxygenated as it should be. You can have a similar problem if you have a hole in the septum. Finally, the last one is congestive heart failure, and congestive heart failure can come about in a whole lot of different ways, but basically, if the heart is overworking, this is usually something that happens over the course of years. Eventually, it can get to the point where it can no longer output blood to the level it needs to supply the body with enough blood, and that's congestive heart failure. And so there are lots of things that can happen with it. Right here, we can see the walls of the heart muscle are becoming kind of weak and thin and unable to pump properly, and so that results in all kind of problems with blood pressure and cardiac output. That's congestive heart failure. So if you haven't yet, I encourage you, make sure when you're going through this here in step number 45, make sure you click the little I info thing, read over this information, take some notes if necessary. Now, after you've looked at the hearts that are now linked on Canvas, they're supposed to be in the room, but we had some problems with the hearts, so they are linked on Canvas this year. In future years, they might be in the room as well. You're also going to be doing some research in step 48 over these conditions. Make sure you use reputable sources to research these. You want to be familiar with all of them, because eventually you're going to be looking at Anna's heart, and she could have any of these or any of the ones up here that we saw in the model. So be aware of that you are going to potentially need to know those things.